back to another edition of Austin's American Flyer, where today I want to share with you what I think is some very exciting news. A couple days ago, I had the great privilege to speak with Karen and Joe and Gerard and spend a little time at American Models. It was quite a treat. It's always great to see those wonderful people. And I got to pick up a couple things, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. I'm kind of excited because, well, you'll see why. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you about is some of the things they have available. And I mentioned this in the video that a lot of you have watched, talking about how sometimes what they have in stock isn't necessarily represented on their website. Well, if you haven't heard, here's some of the latest news. Lionel has officially dropped the S-Scale line. No clue if they're going to bring it back. Kind of the writing was on the wall. If you looked at their catalogs over the last couple of years, the flyer section kept getting smaller and smaller, and basically what they were doing is showing what they had from previous years. It wasn't anything new, and so we've kind of suspected. So that's unfortunate. We hope Lionel decides to turn around and bring it back, or they look to sell all of their tooling and whatnot to somebody who wants to run with it. That's one piece. Another piece is that at this point, there's only one place that you can go to get new American Flyer track, new American Flyer switches, and new American Flyer cars and engines. And that is the aforementioned American Models. So one of the things and one of the reasons I wanted to go to American Models yesterday was to pick up, as I mentioned, some items. And one of the things I got was some flex track. Now, there are different types of flex track out there, and oftentimes people talk about the height of the rail, and you'll see things like code 70, code 83, code 100, code 147. What that's doing is that's referencing the height of the rail. And as we all probably are aware, there are a whole bunch of people in the S world that prefer one thing or another. So there's people like myself that run traditional AC Gilbert, not post-war tubular track, and oftentimes is referred to as high rail. And one of the reasons it's called high rail is because the rail is extra high, and it allows for the flanges of our American Flyer equipment to carefully navigate the ties and the switches and everything. Tends to be a bit more on the toy side versus the prototype side. But when you get into something like this, or you get into codes that are less than this, I think this is considered code 147, you start getting into flanges that are much more prototypical. So if you went and took a picture of a real life boxcar, for example, where you were seeing the flange on the wheel, and you compare that to an S scale prototype wheel set, you'd see that the proportions are identical. That's not true with American Flyer or AC Gilbert flanges. They're much greater, and if some people refer to it as toy. Well, it's pretty awesome. I love it. But all that to say, I wanted to get some American Models track, and thought you all might be interested in just a comparison. So here you can see the gauge is the same, and so they line up from left to right. The other thing that's interesting about the American Models track is you can run AC Gilbert stuff on this. So the rail is tall enough that flanges will clear, and that's always kind of important if you want to be running some of the post-war stuff. So for those of you that are thinking about, hey, can I upgrade my track to something a little newer? Another thing, as I mentioned already, that is kind of cool is you can buy switches from American Models. Here's an example of a manual left-hand switch, and it's cool that there's another place that you can get track. So if you're interested in building a new layout, this is a viable option for you. And like I said, if you've got post-war American Flyer and you want to run it, this is a way to do it. So just something to keep in mind. And I wonder what I'll do with this track. Anyhow, stay tuned. Up here we have an American Models Pacific that has been super detailed and re-decaled for Baltimore and Ohio, and unfortunately in the course of its lifetime all of the insides were pulled out, and so now I have insides to put back in. So that'll be a project that I'll share with you all down the road. Another thing that I did is I picked up this box, and inside this box are these two pieces of equipment. Now, I am pretty excited to get these out on the layout and run them, and I think I'm going to do that here, and we'll put a little video clip on. Both of these are powered and they have sound, and I don't have any diesel engines from American Models with sound, so I'm kind of excited to see what they sound like. So that's pretty cool. Oh, I should also mention on the video from a few months back where I talked about you can ask them for items that maybe they say sold out on their website. This is a prime example. If you go to their website, the Rio Grande F units it says sold out or zero quantity. And that doesn't mean they don't have them. They still have all the pieces, but they've sold out of the ones they have put together. So if you're looking for something and you see on the website the quantity may say zero or not available, still give them a call. I also found out with these switches, Gerard told me that he was putting a bunch of these together. So on the website they had just a few left, but that wasn't really the case. They have a few that were put together, and now they've got a bunch more, and they've got lots of parts available to assemble switches. So that's kind of good to know. So if you're going to be looking to upgrade your layout and you want to get tracker switches, don't be too concerned when you see the quantities in case they're kind of low, because they do have more. This is the second box that I picked up from American Models. And when I was there, I asked Karen and Joe, I said, is there any chance you would have any steam engines? Because I would really like to get an American Model steam engine, and according to the website, you don't have any. And they said, well, you know what? We happen to have a steam engine that years ago a club, a S-scale club, ordered from us, and then they never picked it up. And so here we have a Pacific that is undecorated, save for the number here. And I asked them to go ahead and equip it with sound. It didn't have any sound with it. So this is another engine that I get to operate here in the layout, and we'll have a little fun with that as well. So here's our Pacific. More along the lines of a medium to heavy Pacific versus a light Pacific. We've got a little bit of extra work up front here with the superheater there on front, and we've got marker lights. There's also marker lights on the back and the rear of the tender. And as I mentioned, this has sound, so let's go ahead and fire it up. Push in here and show that. Now this engine has had basically no runtime, so it's going to need to be broken in a little bit. So one of the things that's so cool about American Model steam engines is they use a piston and a smoke generator just like American Flyer did. So that's mechanical chuff and arguably mechanical smoke. This engine is surprisingly heavy. The engine boiler shell is all metal. I didn't check to see if it has traction tires, but this is absolutely no issue whatsoever to pull a train this length. I'm sure it could do quite a bit more. Pretty impressive. I did see that American Models recommends that you operate new engines for a little while, not at high speeds, but just kind of get them broken in, get some of the components that are potentially a little bit on the tight side loosened up a bit, get the oil worked in that they put in at the factory. So I think this thing is going to be a sweet runner. It's already running better than it did just a couple laps ago. So looking forward to it. I think I'm going to add a little bit more smoke fluid to it, and we'll keep going. Now, I hadn't put any smoke fluid in it, and I can certainly see a difference now that I added a couple drops. Very nice. And this is running at between 10 and 11 volts. Nice cruising speed. Probably real life or somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 miles an hour. And we're followed up by an American Models Southern Pacific caboose. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you is if you have an American Models steam engine, oftentimes you have a choice on the drawbar placement. Now I'm running this on the wide radius curves, and so I went ahead and put the drawbar closer. If I were going to be running it on traditional flyer curves, like on these two loops here, then I'd want to go ahead and move the drawbar back so there's a little more separation, so you have more turning room for the cab and the tender on sharper curves. And just thought I'd show here in the tender, we've got the end wheels are pickup. You can see they've got insulated center axles, so we've actually got 8-wheel pickup in the tender. The idler wheels you can see aren't insulated, so those aren't helping contribute. The trailing truck, this is all metal, again heavy. The lead pony truck, it's all metal as well. So just a lot of mass, and that certainly helps the tracking and the pulling ability. And let's see, yep, it does have traction tires up here. So wow, this engine would pull a tremendous amount. It'd pull a lot more than you'd think an engine this size probably would. So pretty cool. All right, now let's move on to the diesel. All right, so here is our AB unit, and you can see we've got applied grab irons, hand railing, pretty cool. Super nice paint, very sharp. Got windscreen, windshield, and wipers. Looks like the front coupler's a dummy. It looks like it would work, but it's still a dummy. So the sound's kind of basic. You get a startup, and I've not so far really seen the startup or heard the startup when I'm going a direction. I can get a better startup when I've got it in standstill. The engine, if you're going a direction, the engine takes off with almost no power. It takes off before the sound system does, so that's what's going on there. And of course we have a bell and we have a horn. goofy right now. Go ahead and reverse directions. We'll get a headlight.